That's it, okay. Just overtaking a car, hold on a second. Alrighty, we are on the way to Dublin right now for our third Mastermind event in the last year. Did one in April, did one this time last year, September. We're running it back for number 3. You know, the way I'm looking at it now, this could be the last event for quite some time. I did a villa mastermind at my villa with just 8 people, and I really found that format I think is better. It's more intimate, it's obviously a smaller group, it means I can spend more time with each person. This event tomorrow is going to be for max 35 people. We'll probably have about 30 people on. So this could be the last one for a while, I'm not sure. I've got 2 really good guest speakers, a friend of mine, Jordan, who spoke at the last 2 events, but he's grown his business massively since the last event, which is just a few months ago. Really exciting. And then Paul, a friend of Jordan and mine, is going to be there as well, giving a really good talk. He runs a 7-figure content agency, and Jordan actually recently merged his agency with another agency owner. So now they were doing maybe 70 grand a month. Now they're both doing combined around 140 to 150k a month. But then I'm also going to have student speakers. So we've got Jonny, one of the guys in my program that is working full-time. So he works 9 to 5 in Ireland. He has an email marketing agency doing around 10 grand per month. So I really wanted to get Jonny to come to share for the people at the event that are not doing this full time, that have a job, and this needs to be something that kind of fits around their lifestyle. But then I've also got Stephen. He's a little bit older, he's 40s. He's been in the industry now for like 20 years, a veteran in the marketing space. Also from the program, he's going to do a talk. We've got Adam, who was at our last event, a guy that runs a food business in Ireland that does really well, the food business. It makes about, I think 500 grand a year revenue, but the profit he now makes from social media marketing, which he just started in the last few months, now is pretty much the same profit he makes from the food business. So he's going to give a talk on how he's grown the food business through social media and how he's now got his social media marketing business up to around, I think, 6,000 a month profit. And then last but not least, we have David, who actually did speak at another event of mine in the past. He's in the program. He runs a podcast agency doing multiple 6 figures a year. So we got a good lineup. So we're on the way now, going to settle into a hotel for the evening, relax. Everything is pretty much ready to go. The venue is sorted. I'll definitely have to answer some questions later for people that might have some last minute questions about how to get to the event and such. But everything is locked in, ready to go. Going to bring you along and hopefully document some of it. Hope you enjoy.
We have a retention agency for e-commerce brands.
And can I ask how much money are you making per month?
So this is our room. People are in there already networking. Let's go in. Alright guys, we are about halfway through the mastermind. The hair is wild. That's a sign that we've been busy in here. So yeah, so far so good. I did a talk for about an hour. Jonny, one of our students doing 12 grand a month while working 9 to 5, he did a talk. And then Dave, one of the guys that has been doing this full time for a few years now. Yeah, really good so far. So we're going to take a lunch break now, and then we're going to go back. We've got 2 more student speakers, so people within my program that are going to talk, and then we have 2 guest speakers, 2 of my friends that do $1 million plus a year, so very inspirational guys. So yeah, now it's time for lunch. So one thing I have lined up for the event is these bags. Okay, everybody's going to get one of these tote bags with the company logo, and they've got these nice little blue straps. I actually use one of these pretty much every day to go to the gym, so I'm going to give these out. And also, everybody's going to get a bracelet from one of these pouches here. This is from one of the first businesses I ran, one that didn't end up working out too well, but I have a little bit of stock left over, so I decided to put one of these bad boys in for everybody in attendance. A few different colorways, this is just one of them here. Alright, it is the next day. So after the event, we had dinner at the venue that we were at. It was amazing. Very small group, maybe 10 of us stayed around for the dinner. And then I had to drive 2 hours back to hometown in Ireland. So an incredibly long day, incredibly fulfilling day. And now it's time to get all the footage together, send over the recordings to all of the attendees, because we had a virtual event as well. So I'm getting that sorted this morning. No rest for the wicked, straight at it. And I want to show you just a couple of the messages I received from people, just kind of the feedback they shared with us. I always do such a bad job at capturing these little moments because I don't want to be shoving a camera in people's face being like, hey, how did you think the event was? I think it can be a bit intrusive. Maybe I need to just do that. But I do have a few messages I can show you. And yeah, this just kind of sums up. This is the kind of impact these events have. So this is Dave, one of our guest speakers. You'll see here, he said, thanks for a great day, man. Once again, I feel charged up and ready to make it happen. And that is a super cool shot I took of him as he was giving a talk. This message from Sean, he said, thanks so much, Adam, for another brilliant mastermind. I learned a huge amount about how people got their business off the ground and the mindset side of things, which really hit home. Most important piece for me right now, really motivating day. All right, just a couple more. So Alex, who flew in from Spain, what an absolute legend. Just solid feedback there and just massive respect because he flew in for the event. That's amazing. This guy Jack as well, he's training for a really intense endurance event right now. So even him just taking his time out on a Saturday to come to the event means a lot. So we've got plenty of photos, videos of the day. This is great for if people want to have these for social media or just have some memories of the day. So I'm putting all of that together now. I'm going to send it over to the group. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to put in a few clips from the talks, okay? You're going to hear from the guest speakers, you're going to hear from the student speakers, people in my program doing very well, and I did a talk as well. So we're going to put in clips of those now. I'm going to roll that so that you can get a taste of the day, a snippet, what it's like, and what really happens. The bones of it is I want you to win. Winning isn't easy, okay? We all know that. But I think sometimes we think it's easy, right? Because we think I can get the blueprint, and then I have the blueprint, and then it's all easy, and it just happens. No, you have the blueprint, you have the info, you have the knowledge, you got to go and actually implement it, do what needs to be done to make it a success. You see, otherwise we would all be winners just naturally, right? Like you would have won all the races on school sports day. I don't think I won any, right? It's just reality. You know, I would have won the marathon I ran with Jordan actually a year ago, but I didn't. We finished, but we didn't win, right? You'll see more of Jordan later, by the way. So even if we don't win, maybe we can do ourselves proud. Right? Because you don't have to be the best. You're going to hear from people today like Jordan, who has merged his company with another company and they do over $1 million a year, soon to be probably multiple millions a year, right? You're going to see people like him be like, Jordan is just a born winner. You know, it's just natural, happens for him. No, he started as we all did, right? But he started with first just getting a client, one client, then two, then three, and so on, okay? So this is my message is maybe you just want to make an extra few grand a month. Maybe you want to build a business that gives you more freedom. Maybe you just want to, help clients, like actually make that impact, you know, like have a client. Because I know that's a fear, right? You get a client and what if they don't get results? What if they give me a bad review, etc. So you can do all of that. But if you want to do that, the first thing you have to get clear on is why and what, okay? So get clear on what you want, because you're going to hear people talk about what they're doing today that are doing like, you know, big numbers. That's really inspirational, but you have to make sure that's your goal, right? You don't have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to do what Jordan is doing or Dave's doing. Figure out what you want first off, then why you want it. Some of you might have seen this video. I was telling Dave about this earlier. So I found this video.
24th of June, 2019. But yeah, your goal is kind of one at the moment. Do not get stuck in a rat race. You point to like five of the this point. This point is because you want to have patient independence, time independence, and product financial independence. And those are two key things. With very positive there, and I look back and I'm like, shit, I didn't do that. And I thought it would kind of be fair. Well, from 2019, we did it.
So that is just a reminder of what I said. You have to declare what you want. So that was me in 2019 declaring what I wanted. Did I know how I was going to do it? I hadn't a fucking clue, right? But it was like having the courage and the balls to just say, fuck it, I'll figure it out, right? So I made that video for myself. I never put it anywhere. I only found it this year. And then I was like, fuck it, that would make a nice piece of content, right? Because people will see old me, big old haircut, you know what I mean? Funny to see. So now I'm going to go into some of the marketing mistakes that have cost me too much money. So number one is you need to know when to shift gears. Okay, so I've seen people in the program get 10K a month with one offer, one outreach method. Okay, so for example, social media management with Upwork as their way of getting clients. Okay, I've seen people do that, but I've also seen those same people then later go to a completely different offer and a completely different outreach channel. And you're thinking, that doesn't make sense, right? Because if it got you to 10K a month, why would you ever change it? But there's certain parts in business where you do need to change gears, okay? What got you from 0 to 10K a month might get you to maybe 15K a month, but it might not get you to 50K a month if that's your goal. Or maybe what got you to 2K a month mightn't get you to 10K a month, okay? So the key point is knowing when to shift, but also knowing that you can get to 10K a month with one thing, all right? Because this isn't an excuse then to just start fucking shifting all the time. You know what I mean? Like this is the reality that you can just run one thing to a certain level, but then you do need to know kind of how to view the situation to know if you shift. So for example, Alvi in the program, a lot of you have seen him. He did Upwork. He got to 10K a month with that. Then he went and switched over to Instagram outreach. Why? Because he wanted to have a narrow niche. He wanted to work with fitness coaches and have a more productized service. So instead of having clients ask for different things, he just wanted, look, I offer one thing, one price point, one type of client. Okay. So then he used Instagram. He got to like 15K a month-ish. And that was him knowing when to shift. So could he have gone from 10K a month to 20K a month with Upwork? I believe he could have. But did he want to? Did it make sense for the long-term vision of what he wanted the business to be? No. Okay. So I think knowing this is very, very key. The second lesson I want you to have is to not run away from your numbers. Okay. So I was on actually one of our 7FA calls 2 weeks back. Yeah, we did a profit and loss statement with a guy in the program who hit like, I think 5K a month. And I was like, fuck man, 5K a month, unreal. Like, how's the profit looking? You know, how are we doing? We realized he was losing money. That sounds a bit mad, doesn't it? Making 5K a month, but like revenue, right? Like the profit was minus. Like he literally lost, I think it was like 100 that month, which is not good. Okay. He was in fact basically paying money to run his agency. He wasn't tracking his exact numbers. And I say this laughing because, you know, it can seem funny, but at the same time, like that's a serious fucking issue, right? Like no business should work like that. So what I want you to do, even when you're just starting, okay? So like, even if you don't have a client now, have your template set up, all right? Get a spreadsheet. We have one in the program. You can, you know, find one online as well. Very basic. Get a spreadsheet, open your bank account, you count what goes in and what goes out, okay? You'll also see here, I'm saying not contracted revenue or like expected revenue, because some people will track it as like, oh, I've got these leads that are about to close. No, just like the actual cold hard cash, okay? What came into the bank, and track that, okay? To give you kind of a breakdown just on this guy, like this situation, look, it was a few things done wrong. He was overpaying his team where he wasn't paying, for example, with content creation, he wasn't paying per piece, but he was paying like hourly rates and things like that. So people were just racking up like basically big bills with him where he could have paid a lot less. Okay. So that was number one. Number two for him was he was running ads to get clients. He didn't need to because he got to, I think, like 4K a month without ads with Upwork. And then he started running ads and it was working because his calendar was booked out. He was getting clients, but his cost to get these clients was really fucking high. Like it was costing him to get these clients, but he was delighted being like, oh, everything's moving. I'm scaling. This is great. But he's losing money. Okay. So just at all stages, make sure you're actually tracking because look, revenue is cool. I know Adam, you say this a lot. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. And it's the facts. Like Adam will touch on this later, but he's got two businesses and like one is 10 times bigger in terms of revenue, but it makes the same money as the other business. Right. So like if you're doing this, like how I started, you know, I didn't do this to lose money. I didn't do this to make $5,000 a month and spend $5,000 a month. Right. And you know, that's illogical to me. So make sure you're tracking this. Might sound silly, but this guy just wasn't tracking it enough. Okay. And so then he got into that phase of just pushing too much growth, too many clients, and then losing money. Okay. So again, even when you're just starting, like you've no clients, you've one client, track that shit. Track that. Know exactly how much is going in, how much is going out. Because if there's any point where we're losing money, we need to have a chat. Because something's off. Number three, guys, build towards your goal, not mine. Okay. So some of the students in the program hit 10K a month with profits as high as like 80%, 90%. Okay. So they make 10K, they profit 8 grand, 9 grand. There's many. There's some that probably profit 10 grand. They do everything themselves. There's others in the program that operate with a lot lower profit margin, like 20, 25, 30%. And it's not that one is right and one is wrong. Okay. I know I've put green on the one in top and red on the one on bottom, just to draw your attention. It's not about that. It's about different goals. Okay. So you got to get clear again, as I mentioned at the start. What are you building for? Like, know your goal, not mine, not Adam's, not Dave's, your goal. Okay. Get clear on what that is. So when I started my agency, 2 big priorities for me. 1, strong profits and cash flow. And then 2, run independently of me. That was the framework, the goal. So could I have, for example, had higher profits, but be more involved? Yes. And made more money? Yes. But worked more hours. On the flip side of that, could I have automated way more, outsourced more, and done basically nothing each day, you know, have people doing everything? Yeah, but then the profits would be way lower. So that for me was the key. Had to have the 2 things and the balance of the 2. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, guys, if there's questions on this stuff, we'll do a big Q&A at the end. We'll be chatting on the day, so don't worry if there's any little details that you want to pick on. The goal today is to network, to meet you guys, okay? Number 4, I want you to write your manifesto, know your why. Everybody really probably has 1 to 2 hours a day to build something. Like I could find right now 1 to 2 hours a day to build another business. I could, for a fact. I know I could. Because if I look at my screen time, there's probably time I do spend where Laura sees this all the time. I'll post a TikTok video and then I'm waiting for it to post and I'll scroll for 3 videos. You know, like this is just the game. This just happens, right? So could I be rigid? Could I get way more disciplined, find that 1 to 2 hours? I know for a fact I could, 100%. But I don't want to right now. Like I don't want to build another business, okay? So I also don't need to, okay? And it doesn't fit the why. I have a why. I'm achieving the why right now. Happy days. Do I need to have another business to, again, fill somebody else's why? No, I don't, because what I'm doing is working, right? Again, I want this to be clear again. So if you're starting, the time is there. We got to get clear on exactly how we do it. And if you do have a business and you're thinking, oh, I need to do more, go back to your manifesto. Do you need to do more? Because again, this guy where he was running the business and losing money, that's kind of, I think, what would have happened with him is he was making good money. And then he probably saw other people scaling faster than him and started to go, oh, I need to scale. But did he? Well, he's actually worse off for scaling faster now. He's losing money, right? So this is why I haven't built another agency after selling mine. Okay, I have a business now. It provides impact, cash flow, freedom. I'm pretty happy with those 3. Okay, it's going to get me to my why. Okay, I think it's really important at every stage of the journey because there's always shiny objects. When you're starting a business like this, you're seeing all the other types of business models. You're thinking, is this the best one for me? Once you start it and you get to 5K a month, trust me, another set of shiny objects. All right, there's going to be, deals coming your way left, right, and center. And they're going to be different opportunities. You're going to have clients say, hey, do you want to become a partner in our business? Take a percentage and get hands-on. You're going to have, if you have a personal brand, you're going to have businesses come and want to do brand deals. And maybe we can partner with you. Maybe it makes sense. But oftentimes it doesn't, okay? So just make sure you know your why, guys. Again, if you're in the program, you know this, the manifesto is there. We want you to go back on that. But also you might need to update it. Because again, when you start and you write that out, the goal might be 2K a month. Yeah, it might change. You might get to 1K a month and go, fuck it, I got a bigger goal now. You got to update it, right? But make sure you have that at any time, a guide, a reference. Where am I going? What am I doing? Why am I doing this for?
So then I came across Adam for the second time, actually. Realized I had messaged him a year prior and disregarded buying the course because I thought it was a scam, as everyone probably does. So yeah, that's Adam. Not really looking too happy there, and then looking happy in 2023 when I paid. I started listening to some of his podcasts, watching YouTubes, and actually reached out to guys. I think Ty and there was 1 or 2 other people. Adam Coleman might be another one that I reached out to, and I seen that they got a 10K a month trophy that I thought was fake, and I'm him now. So I decided to take the jump and bought the course. I started attending the calls religiously, became obsessed with action, anything I could within the course. Made sure I was educating myself all the time, listening to other people's stories for motivation, just asking Adam and Ty a ton of questions. You see there, that was me doing the course while I was in work. I think they thought I had a bladder problem going up and down on my phone. That was me then, the evening time back on the course when work was finished. Hopping on calls with Ty, listen to, as I said in the previous slide, listen to Adam's podcast a ton. And then that's just a snip of our chat there, sending voice notes back and forth all the time. I'd say I was wrecking our heads, but worked out on it. Then I came to a point where I had to make some decisions. So this is where it comes down to your agency or freelance, what service you want to offer, what niche were you going to offer that service to. So I have a 9-to-5 job. I had no real choice but to go the agency route, unless I could have went the freelance route, but it wouldn't be scalable. So I just went agency route from the start. So started off by offering everything and anything, which I say a lot of people do. Whilst running up anything I learned whilst running up those dropshipping stores, I tried to sell as a service. So I did land clients fairly quick, but then realized that I got the best results with email marketing, so I stuck with that. So you'll see that was the very early days of Lux Media, Facebook ads, content creation, email marketing, and eventually just sticking with email then. And I started working with every niche. So I took on basically I just heard email marketing, I took on a client. Doesn't matter what niche it was, I took them on. And my first client was a subscription-based service that took payment through Telegram. So in hindsight now, I wouldn't have went back and taken them on. But they basically, we sent emails, pushed traffic to their website through email, and they were taking their funnel was like website, Telegram. So they took payment in Telegram. So at the end of each month, I wasn't able to say, I'm after making you 3-4 grand worth of sales here. I was just able to show them how much traffic I pushed to their site, which was kind of useless. So I quickly pivoted from that. And that's when I landed my first e-com client. Actually, I realized I was able to generate real tangible results that would actually want them to stay. I was able to come to them at the end of each month and say, look, as you can see there, we're after making a £92,000 from email this month. And my retainer was substantially lower than that. So it worked out for both parties.
Right. I'm going to start a little bit overview with myself. This is actually my first time speaking publicly like this. So I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit nervous, but we give it a shot. So my name is Stephen Nutley and I am a digital entrepreneur. I met Adam online in 2001 or 2021, kind of post-COVID. And I suppose around the time, kind of part of my life was kind of falling apart despite me doing well. And I suppose Adam kind of really had his message of what he was talking about, that it was true. There's an awful lot of scam people online. There's a lot of people who are just after your money online. And he had an air of authenticity about him. And what he said had matched my story so far. So it kind of really kind of interested me in learning more from him. I suppose at the last event that we were at in April, I noticed that there was a scenario that I found a lot of people here in the room in that was similar to myself, that there were some people who had started on not that long ago and were absolutely crushing it in what they were doing. And there was other people who just hadn't started yet or were not where they wanted to be. And I suppose in the last kind of 4 or 5 years, I've had the privilege of working with some incredible mentors and has changed my position in life around. And I could see some of the people at the last event, if they changed their approach to some of the things that they were thinking about, they could apply themselves so much more into achieving what they want to achieve. And this is what we call a quantum leap or quantum acceleration. If you're working your 9-to-5 job and you kind of say, well, I give you a 5% increase in your wage, you kind of 5% keeping up with inflation, fairly all right. If I said 10%, you'd be, geez, yeah, I'm happy with 10%. You thought 20%, you'd be thinking that's fantastic. But if I told you you could 4 times what you were earning, your mind would instantly turn off and go, that's impossible. You can't do something like that. So if you're wondering why some people are absolutely crushing it and you feel stuck, you can even get to the 5 grand a month mark and get stuck. You can have this kind of level of just being flatlining. Even at 10 grand, you're going to get these positions that happens to you, and you're going to want to question yourself, why am I stuck or why am I feeling stuck? So there's 3 types of goals. The first type of goal is a type A goal. A type A goal is something that you've done before. So if you've bought, say, Skoda Octavia RS, you have a Skoda Octavia RS, it's 4 years old, and you decide to yourself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy a brand new Skoda Octavia RS. Nothing wrong with Skoda Octavia RS, beautiful car, but there's no growth in the goal. You've already achieved something like that before. So all you're doing is being the same person you are currently. Now, if you said to yourself, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to, I don't know, some car that's kind of twice the value. Say something realistically you do. I'm going to buy a high-end Mercedes. High-end Mercedes. So type B goal. I've never done it before. And you say to yourself, you know what? If I saved more, if I cut back on the drinking, if I got a little bit of increase in the job, I reckon I could do that. Now, there is growth in that, but it's already something that you know you could do, that you put the effort in that you know you could do. But then if you thought to yourself a type C goal is something that I want you to fantasize about. Something that when you were a child that you went off on a bit of a tangent and you thought to yourself, you know what I love a fucking R8. Audi R8. I've always had a thing for R8s. But you kind of have to say to yourself, you know what, I couldn't do that. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't know how I'm going to get to where I need to be with that. And what I'd like you to do then with your type C goal is to fantasize a bit. As a kid, you had the ability to fantasize, but your parents or your teachers, when you were in school, you were told to, to rein it in a bit. Like, you're kind of, you're not paying attention. You have to be realistic here. Society wants you to conform a certain way. Your parents, as much as they want the best for you, school, as much as they want the best for you, you're designed to fit within a certain framework, a certain position in life, to be happy with 3 weeks holidays a year, off for the weekends, enjoy your blue wicket and a kebab on a Saturday night, and come to work on a Monday. Live life and be happy. And I want you to kind of think, well, is that what you want, or is there more what you want? What is it that you really want? Think bigger with it. So your mind works in 2 modes. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's a neurologist, and we work in 2 modes. The first mode is survival. So a lot of us kind of come across news articles, and news articles will have us in its constant state of fear. And when we're in fear, all our mind thinks about is how we can escape this situation, how we can escape this kind of bad situation that we're in. So we see war, we see violence, we see other things like that are in the news, and they're all designed, bad news sells, good news doesn't sell. But if we're focused only on what's negative and surviving, we've locked out so many opportunities that are still there. But we've tuned them out because all we're thinking about is how we can make the next rent payment, how we can, keep the wolf from the door. So like when the hyena in Africa is being chased by the lion, focuses solely on escaping from the lion. Now, once the lion clears, it knows that it's safe and it can look around and see what's there again. But we're constantly being bombarded with negative news in what's around us, and that stops our creativity and what we think is possible and hones us back into where we are and where we think we're designed to be. Our subconscious mind is 95% of our thinking, and only 5% of our mind is actually our logical thinking. Our mind can't differentiate between the truth and a lie. If you can convince yourself something is true, you will in time believe it is true. So a lot of these habits that we do in terms of not being able to achieve what we think we can achieve is because it doesn't seem possible to us. But if we told ourselves that it is possible, and we embedded this kind of belief in ourselves that these things are possible, we could change our mind into doing that. So thinking and kind of, empowering your thoughts into thinking about the positivity of what can happen. Like Adam said earlier on, and, I could get so many new clients next week. Well, what's to stop you getting new clients next week? One of the biggest things out there is decision. The worst decision you can make is indecision, because if you've made a bad decision, you can always go back and change it. Making an indecision leaves you stuck. You're in limbo. You've not made what you want to do. You've gone nowhere. You're being completely static in where you are. We are what we think about. Thoughts become feelings. Feelings is what makes us. If we feel the different emotions of the goal result achieved, if it feels like you've got that, audio rate, if you can feel the Alcantara in your hand about to drive as you're going out the door in the morning, it becomes more realistic in terms of the actions that we need to take to achieve that goal. We keep thinking small. Or if I said to you, this time next year, I want you to earn €1 million, you'd be kind of going like, that's crazy. You couldn't earn €1 million this time next year. And if I said to you, this time 6 months, could you earn €100,000? It suddenly becomes more realistic. If I said to you, this time 3 months, could you earn €10,000? It's achievable for anyone in this room to do €10,000 in the next 3 months, if you put your mind to it. And once you get to 10,000, you don't have to know how to connect the dots going forward. You'll only see the dots connected when you look backwards. So once you get to one position in this, you'll figure a way to scale. But the biggest bottleneck in that terms of scaling is the belief in yourself in terms of being able to actually achieve that. There's another thing as well called frequency. And the frequency that you put out is the frequency that you will attract. So if someone asks you, how's business going? It's a bit crap at the moment. Oh, it's not great at the moment. You're putting in a low energy vibe that just attracts other low energy vibes. Big thing of this for me was in the recession, again, being one of the older ones here, the last recession that happened, I was DJing in one of the local pubs, and I was also doing the digital business, but I was coming across so many people who were, I know they're losing their jobs. There's no jobs there. There's no work there. And that got me into the mindset of thinking then, oh yeah, well, sure, there's no point in applying for that. There's no point in kind of pitching for that project because they're not going to spend the money they need for that. And it got me at that level of thinking. So if you were at like on an FM radio and you're at 88 FM, 88.5, Radio 1, you've no chance of tuning into 104. You're on a different frequency in terms of your thinking. If I said to everybody today here, on your trip here today, for every yellow car you see, you tell me where you see it and I'll give you £100. How many people here reckon they could tell me every yellow car they spotted this morning? Now, on the way home, if I said to you, every yellow car you spot this evening, you'd know where they are. So if you change your mindset and to tune in to look for the opportunity that's there, if you can see the opportunities are always there. So the ability to get a 10 grand a month single client is there right now for you, but you're not tuned in to seeing that. This is I can't remember the name of it offhand. I had it written down. There's a level of frequency starting from the bottom all the way up. Again, I have a PDF of this I can share with you. The low level frequency: shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride. As we start to move up, courage, neutral, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, unconditional peace, and then finally enlightenment. And what we can do is work on changing our mental frequency to get up the ladder to increase our positive thoughts, to be happy for what we have, to show a level of gratitude for what we've achieved so far. Myself and others have been talking earlier on, saying kind of, oh, it was great, but if only when we were younger, we had done this and we had done that in terms of where we want to be. It's really important we take a step back and look at what we've achieved so far and have a sense of gratitude for what we have achieved. Not to be too hard on ourselves if we haven't gone to where we were hoping to be, but acknowledge the journey that we're on and the positions that we've taken so far.
Our agency is responsible for over 10 million in profitable ad spend on our creatives. That number is probably bigger because it's a hard number to track after a while. We currently have 21 people in our team, over 15,000 ads built, over 200 brands we've worked with. I'm not sure exactly again, but I'd love to go and get all those details. We've had our work featured in lots of different high-profile places and work with very high-profile clients. And the main thing that I'm going to talk about is how we were able to attract bigger names, because I know everyone's at the start of their journey. They may be looking for that local business, and that is absolutely brilliant because that's going to start to build that war chest that Jordan mentioned. But then what's the next step? And can you open up your mind and find bigger profile clients? So let me just check this. Yeah, very, very lucky. Some names you might recognize here. One big one for me is a small one, golf brand. I actually wrote this down on a Dream 100 list of top 100 brands I wanted to work with. I wrote that down 3 years ago, and we managed to land a deal with them at the Open in end of July. So it's huge for me personally. Monopoly. Everyone played Monopoly growing up. One of my biggest, most favorite games was Monopoly. I have a long-term deal now with them at Hasbro. And lots of brands here that whenever I look back, I have to check myself and be grateful and thankful that we were in a position to do deals and produce content for companies like this. But it all started really, oh yeah, I forgot this slide was in. So this is just some photos. Phil Foden teaching this guy how to do UGC while he sips a Yorkshire tea. Harry Kane teaching him how to score goals. Actually, the week after this, he broke the Tottenham all-time goal scoring record. So I conveniently posted that the same day. Tommy Fury, World's Strongest Man, I actually forget his name, it's slipped my mind. Eddie something, yeah. Floyd Mayweather, Tyson Fury. And again, got to travel for 2 years with Tyson, got to go to the Usyk fight in Saudi Arabia, got to go to Bangkok with him and just make content. So my talk is really, how can we use content to build our personal brand to grow our agency? Because what you'll find whenever, even in the Q&A, if you ask me like, how did you close those deals? What I actually did was I documented the whole entire process of working with the dentist, working with the local PT, working with, all these brands that have no names or just struggling with small budgets, and then showing the differences that can happen when you do some basic digital marketing. And that played out with lots of reps over time. I'm now 6 years into my agency, is exactly how I got to take a photo with Tyson Fury. So I want to basically pick apart that at the first half, how to do that. And then in the second half, there's not too many slides, so don't be worrying. The second half will actually go deeper to pull back the layers of my agency. What do we deliver? How do we deliver it? What do our systems look like? And then any questions you have about hiring or actually building that machine. So back in the 31st of March, 2020, this was my very first ever value post, or a post trying to like tell somebody something. Before that, I was just taking photos of an MMA fighter that I was working for, and a packaging company that I was working for, and a dentist. So pretty wild, no niche. I was just doing content for them. And then I realized that like COVID was coming and I wasn't able to go and shoot any projects. So I started to give out value for the very, very first time. This is the first one. And I don't really even know what the message is here, but the point is I went from March until July before I posted my first video. And this is my dad's office. This is my brother. He's my co-founder and my brother. So I'll talk about this relationship as well in a second. My very first value video it got 1,225 views, and I didn't even have 1,000 followers at the time. That's when I realized people are actually listening to this stuff. And essentially all it was stop boosting posts. It's not cost efficient. Instead, if you want to get your post out, drop it into the meta ads. Back then, that was groundbreaking. So I posted that, got actually a bunch of clients, keep a comments. And then I just realized that's the thing I'm going to do. That's going to be my mechanism. Some people do outreach, some people do door knocking, whatever. I was going to do value posts. Even whenever we're in Marbella, like Adam mentioned, walking to the gym every day, I just open up my phone and just say something. I would just say something that I'd either learned or discovered. And that's going to be the absolute key here. The big question, like I don't know what to put out. So there's two things, and also you should do all of this, but we'll work through it. If you're a beginner and you don't have loads of experience, you can literally just post things that you see. So things that you observe. So this is a continuum between things that you see and things that you learn and know. Things that you see is like things that you notice, like what are brands putting out? Looking at, you know, whoever your favorite brand is. Let's say my favorite brand, Malbon, right? Golf fashion brand. I actually made a video just talking about their strategy and how they collaborate with really good quality artists and influencers, and not even influencers, just like old brands. I grew up skateboarding. They just did a collaboration with Etnies and Santa Cruz. I thought that was so cool. You know, they're launching with they jumped a skateboard over a golf cart, and I just thought that was class. So I just told everyone about it because some people didn't see it. So I just showed it to them from my feed. So this is just things I noticed. Brands are doing things that I like. Stuff people said. Hormozy said this. That's a content piece. Releases, updates, features and bugs. Features and bugs is like, oh, I just saw a tech spokesperson explain the new features and bugs of the iPhone 17. That's great. Features and bugs on this side could be, we've just ran $1 million in ad spend, and we've realized that, you know, this problem exists. Getting content up into the ad account takes way too long. It's a problem, blah, blah, blah. So these are your observations. And you'll always have ideas, because if you curate your feed correctly, maybe you have a burner feed, a burner Instagram, or a burner account on TikTok, where it's just, I would call it good quality content, not brain rot. You can get inspired, and then you want to be careful not to fall into the echo chamber where you're literally just repeating everyone. But if you follow that authenticity rule, then just following great accounts is going to be a good way for you to learn what to talk about. Then on the other side, as you get bigger, as you get more clients, you can then start to talk about things you learned, results you got, findings. You know, I can say we had a client spend $1 million a month with our content. Here's what I realized. The high production video got more spend than the statics. Are you investing in the high production video? That's a fact. I can back it with findings, and it's from my experience. And again, it's going to help people decide that I might be the guy to run their content for them. Case studies is, again, an obvious one. After experience, you will then automatically get your case studies. Deep insights, so like deeper insights than some surface level observations, like really pulling behind the curtain, showing inside of ad accounts, showing inside of, like, here's the click rate that I'm getting on these call to actions. Here's the thumb stop I'm getting on these hooks. Again, features and bugs, and then do's and don'ts. Again, mad hook, you know, ran up 250 grand to spend in this one video. Here's what you must do every single video. You know, here's what they never do. So you want to maybe take a photo, or I know you're all taking notes, scribbling away, but this is not a finite list. Other things will happen that'll come up that you'll just think is a brilliant idea to post.
So my name is Dave O'Gara. I run a podcast agency. We are a podcast launching, strategizing, production agency for B2C brands around the world. And these are the lessons that I've learned, the 8 big lessons that I've learned throughout my journey. So the first thing is the moment that started this whole thing. And it was born from me sitting outside a hospital in 2019. My daughter had been rushed to hospital, a lot of health concerns at the time. And we sat in the car and we were waiting to go in. And my wife at the time had to run in with Jessica when we had our slotters during the pandemic, fun and games with that. So I sat in the car and I thought, Jesus, how much is accident and emergency? How much is the fee? And I wasn't looking after my money at the time. I was very selfish, and I was just the type of guy that would just spend money on PlayStation games over spending money on clothes for my kids, right? That's what I was. So I sat in the car, they ran in, and I thought, I better look this up. So we did. I looked up, it was like 125, 150, something like that. I looked at my bank account and I had 70 quid. In that moment, I'll never forget it. It changed like my life. It changed everything for me as a dad, as a husband, as an entrepreneur. And these are the lessons that I've learned since that very moment until today. Okay. So by the way, this is very borrowed from Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of a CEO. I don't know if anybody got the reference. Trying to be clever. One, define your why. So that moment was a sobering moment for me because I had to define my why, and everybody that starts this journey needs to. Then you find out, why am I doing this? Is it because I want an extra $5,000 a month and want to buy a few bits? You're not going to get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, Jonny style, doing his gig before 9 to 5. It's not big enough of a reason. You need to think bigger, and I had to think bigger. And my why was essentially slapped me in the face, and that was, I need to be a provider, need financial control in my life, and also was looking for some independence too. But my big one was to be a provider, and that was my why, and that was the first lesson that I learned. So in 2019, we had, my wife had a traumatic birth with Jessica. She's 6, big and bold now, all is well, but yeah, we had a lot of breathing issues when she was young, and it was a lot of health scares. It was her first kid, just we want to do everything right by the book, but truthfully, there is no blueprint. You just go and you do it. So we went through that. And then, like I mentioned, with my financial situation, I felt like a failure. But my mindset was very different back then to what it is now. And it really started from a mindset shift of getting away from being complacent. I was hugely complacent at that time. I just mentioned about PlayStation games, life, coasting along with my 9 to 5, not really caring about much else. Purpose driven. I had to make that change to have a bigger purpose, and having a family, being a provider was my purpose. Had to make that mindset shift big time. I went from hustle mentality, doing the odd gig here and there, all that kind of stuff, to being a bigger thing. It was hustle mentality to intentionality. I need to be intentional about what I'm doing. Just going all in on intention rather than just having this loose plan around money, right? Self-focused, obviously had to change to be legacy focused. I wanted to be the provider that my wife wanted me to be, that my kid wanted me to be, and that my future family would want me to be, right? So that was my first lesson. So I would encourage you guys to just look at your why and why you're doing this. It's a big, big reason, gets you out of bed in the morning. It's when the days become hard, when the fails become big. The why is the thing in your back that gets you out of bed. I spoke at the last chat about how my wife thought I was a freak because I would get out of bed on my first alarm. My alarm would go beep, and my hand already be on it, and I would just get up, and that's what it took, because it wasn't about me, it was about something bigger than me, and that's really a big battery in the back. It's needed. So then the second lesson I learned was take massive action. So in part of this journey, I had to create an ecosystem around me of voices and podcasts, and obviously I'm biased to say that, but books, mentorship, Adam, all this kind of stuff. And fitness as well. I had to create an ecosystem that fed me into the right mind frame for this. So in taking massive action, that was all part of it. That was like the first step. So I was living in my father-in-law's at the time, and we were saving for a house. And this is another financial reason that I wanted to work on as well. So this is me in my little makeshift studio. This was like a converted shed. I had all of it in there, a little man cave. The deck's there picking up dust because that's like the old life in that corner of the room, and this is the new one, right? So there it is, a bit closer. You can see books. I was all about reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We've got Malcolm X's in there as well. A lot of mindset books. Well, the whole thing is, again, the ecosystem of the right voices in your head at the time to help push you through the journey. So I had to take massive action, and this action was starting my own business, which began on Fiverr. I started selling services on Fiverr. I started reaching out to, or people started reaching out to me rather, out of the services that I put up there, saying, this is the skill set that I have. This is how I can serve you. This is anything from copywriting to voiceovers to audio productions. It was all skill set based. What can I do? What can I offer? And I learned very quickly that the market didn't care about a lot of what I had to offer. So it wasn't always going to be a home run situation. And I found that out hard. So third lesson, in taking massive action, I had to fail fast, learn faster. So what was I failing at? I was failing because I was putting up gigs like, I will be your scary voice. Like, I don't know what I was thinking at that time, but I got like 3 clients from that, and they're all pranks, right? But the point is, I tried. It was everything from commercials to audio productions, etc. And there's a brief snapshot of my profile. That's a long time back now. I've changed those thumbnails since. But anyway, it's where I started, was seeing what was working in the market and see if there's any demand for this, and taking it from there. This is where I got my leads from. So me's kicking off my tweet at the start of the year. This is some freelancing. If anybody wants any services, 10 reviews. This is where I started from. So in this room, this is where I started my journey, and I tried lots of different services, and not all of it stuck. And this is my, I guess, vision board. This is where I had my ideal financial goals that I had for the month, my funnel, it got to a point where things were going well, and I was so motivated to come in every day and see this. So the services that started doing well were copywriting, and then it was podcasting. So then I realized that copywriting was something I felt like I couldn't really scale, because it was a combination of a lot of my experience previously with customer facing roles that I had in radio, and then it was hard to replace myself to do that, to delegate, to build a team, to scale. So then when podcasting started to take off, the pandemic happened, and then everyone and their granny started a podcast. I'm sure you're all aware of this. So I am, responsible for some of those. I do apologize. We had some bad stuff come through, right? Anyway, that's what started it. And then I realized that, wow, this niche, there's a demand for this, and I can actually do this. So then I named it Podcast Geek. I just threw it up there one day, and from then I started to move forward pretty quickly. The numbers went up and things were looking a lot better for me. And as that happened, I needed to build systems to delegate, and I needed to automate as much of my time as possible. So it wasn't just a hustle thing of this being a few quid and me doing it before work, after work, during lunch, all this stuff. I had to delegate, I had to build a team, I had to make it work realistically. So at this point in time, we've 9 full-time people. And back then it was just me. When I started delegating, it was a huge game changer. It was the biggest thing that I hate doing, or that takes the most time. Just took that one person for me to light bulb moment. Oh my God, this is great. I can now get another and another and another to do all these tasks. So I just added 1 person, 2 person, 3 people, all that stuff went on. So we're a team of 9 now. We're hiring 2 full-time more this month, and we've 4 part-timers with us as well. So this is our Trello board. This is our workflow system. It's like a conveyor belt. Orders come in on the left and go to the right. And just to be clear, if I hadn't been clear earlier, what we do is we launch podcasts for B2C brands. So we conceptualize brands, the podcasts that these brands want to take off, and we strategize with them on the launch, and then we produce the podcast, we post, and we essentially help them grow. Strategy, large reason behind that. So that's Trello board, and this is our agency portal. So I had to create a more professional way of dealing with clients rather than just through Gmail for this specific service. So started the website and then created the portal that linked directly to the website. Client facing, they can see all the orders, they can see all the podcasts, how they're doing, all of that in one place. So then the next lesson I learned was to protect my energy. So my day looked like this. I would get up at 4 a.m, sometimes earlier, put in a few hours, get the kids out of bed, and then go to work. Some days would be remote, some days would be in person. And then I would, on the lunch hour, I would get some laptop time in to do more. And then when I went home, it was family time until they went to bed. And then I would do like 1 extra hour, like prepare my next day, whatever. And that was it. That was me monk mode. And that's like exactly what Jonny had said. Like, that's exactly what it is, what it takes. Like, you have to be that driven. And that's what the day looks like. You have the same hours a day as Oprah does. You just kind of piece out the hours where it makes sense for you. I had to obviously sit down with my wife and go, hey, listen, I'm putting all into this. This is going to take off. You can see, like, this financially. She's like, oh, great. We're, financially, she could see money in this. Hey, it's working. Keep it coming. But for me, it was about, building the trust funds, the emergency funds, and for the looking into the future. And obviously the mortgage is part of that too. So that was all positive. She was happy. She could see that. And so then she was happy to support it, right? So, but that discussion had to be had. Listen, I'm going to be robot mode for a lot of time here, so I won't be around as much, but you're going to see the benefit of this when things kick off. So I had to protect my energy, right? So that's what my day looked like. And yeah, it's just kept going from that point onwards. We got on to work with B2C clients around the world. We ended up working with Patreon. Rick Ross, the artist, we did a podcast for him. We ended up Harvard Business School as well. We do anything from OnlyFans to religious podcasts. Right? So we don't judge. But my point here to say is that Fiverr was working and I was seeing it work. This was my lead generator and this is where I started. You can see, figures going up and all going well, kind of, some months lumpy. But ultimately there was a point where I was making like 15, 16 grand a month. And I was just like, why am I still working my 9 to 5 when I'm doing this? I pictured myself thinking, how much more would this company grow if I actually use that time in my own business rather than giving them my time and to grow theirs? And that was a game changer because, there's a big drop off there in Fiverr. Why? Because I took those clients offline. I went directly with them. And that was fine because if you do it in a way that isn't a way that they don't realize it's a way to do it. But anyway, I had to do it because I was going all in at this point.
Quick intro on why I'm here. Because I'm really good friends with Adam. We've spent a lot of time together, and there was even more photos in here that I didn't add in. But you know, we've traveled the world together. We've been to many different events and shared a lot of experiences with different friends and fitness and business and everything in between. And there's been ups and downs, but it's really important that when you find friends in the game that you really spend your time with them and invest in relationships. Because me and Adam, anytime we meet up, we normally have to fly somewhere across the world to meet up. So it's really important that if you find someone, if that's someone in this room or someone else, that you really invest time to build strong relationships, because it's just all about who you surround yourself with. And today what I'm going to cover is I'll just quickly go through a journey and intro for those that maybe don't know what I've done in the past. Then I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about belief and mindset, as I truly believe in the early stages, it is the most important thing. Stephen also talked about it, and you'll see that there's a pattern. Everyone is kind of talking about this because it is the most important. And then I'm going to talk about doing the work, what it actually takes. And then I'll go through how to get to 10K per month, how to go from 10 to 50, and then how to break past 80K, which is obviously 7 figures a year, 100K, and then where we're at now, 150 and beyond per month. Then I'll talk about money, investing, long-term goals. And then the next thing, I'll just quickly talk about money, investing, and long-term goals. And I've actually learned a lot from Adam on this. I don't know if Adam speaks about it, but Adam is very shrewd when it comes to his money, investing, and he's super smart with it. But I'm going to share, I think there's just 3 lessons here. So at the start, build a fat war chest. Okay, so a war chest is just cash in the bank, and take as little out of the business as possible. And then, because what's going to happen, you're going to go through up and down periods, and having cash in the bank will give you confidence to push through and take more risks. And I made another video about this, but it's so important that you have that money in the bank. And, you know, for you, it might be having €1,000, €10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, even more, right? It all depends on what your runway is, but having cash in the bank is just so important. And then once you have about 6 months plus of runway, and runway is basically just how much does it cost to run your business right now? For some of you guys, it might be very little. As you grow, it's definitely going to be more and more. So once you have 6 months of runway and you have a nice cash reserve, keep your living expenses the same. Don't ball out. Don't go live the lavish lifestyle, and just invest the difference. Okay, because in this game as an entrepreneur, we don't get paid for sick leave. We don't get paid for holidays. We don't have a pension. So we have to create our own, and you need to be investing your money now. So play it smart and think, what would your 60-year-old self, what would they want you to do? So for me, I probably didn't do this early enough. I would also recommend that, you know, if you can move to a country that you can pay less personal tax, you'll save a lot here as well. So for me, I probably waited a little bit too long before doing that. But it's really important that as you earn more, that you're investing more, because we don't have a pension. Obviously, you can create your own, but I would definitely recommend finding out where you want to put your money, if that's real estate, if that's Bitcoin, if that's the S&P, if that's gold, if that's investing in businesses, whatever it is. I think the whole point of all of this is having freedom. And, you know, it's really important that you can have freedom forever, and not just while you're working in your 20s or 30s or 40s. And then I would say the only exception to this is when you hit a goal, or you make sure that you reward yourself, experience luxury. And this doesn't have to be for you. This can be for your team. This can be for your family, your partner. And when you do this, you'll get attached. When you attach this to your goals, you'll then, you know, create this like reward system, and like it becomes an addiction, really. And I do this all the time. Like, one of our team members has now been with us for 2 years, and I just bought him a watch from one of our clients that's worth like thousands. So it's really important that, like, when you hit a goal or when something happens, that you give that, you know, you treat someone to something, to yourself or whatever it is. But this is really, really important. And like, figure out what it is. Like, we have a target this month. If we hit 200K this month, that I'm going to do something for my dad when he comes out to Spain. Like, I'm going to like have a really good experience with him. But if we don't hit that, then I won't be able to have that experience. So I'm chasing that goal, so then I can give that experience to someone else. It's not for me. It's for him, so I can give him the experience.
So my name's Adam Murray. I recently turned 25 years old, and the past 18 months, I've completely changed my life for the better. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've bootstrapped all my business from the ground up, started with €0, got into loads of debt, and we're slowly getting somewhere. So I own Biddo Street Food. Biddo is my nana. It was her nickname. She had a catering company in Drogheda. You're going to realize I love Drogheda and everything about it. And I said, how can I turn my love for Drogheda into business? And we've ended up owning the food trailer. And with the success of me owning a food trailer and the content we put out every single day, all the time on all these platforms, people started messaging me, Adam, will you manage my social media for my business? And I said, for €1,000 a month, I definitely will. And they said yes. And that's when I found out about Adam. And that is how we're here today. And hopefully over the course of next year, social media marketing is going to become my main money maker. And as a gift for all you in the audience, exclusively for 5 members of the audience here today, at the end of this presentation, we have a gift valued at more than a day's work, but less than your monthly mortgage payment. So pay attention, and some of you will get that at the end. Let me see what's next. I forget my own slides half the time. There we go. Right. So we have 7 key takeaways from this presentation. Keep note of all these. I'm going to tell you them as we go along and reference them the whole way through. So, number 1, fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. I'm going to elaborate on these further as we get into the presentation. 2, if I can do it, you definitely can do it. As I said, my whole life has changed in 18 months, and I'm definitely not a genius or anything special. Yeah, you'll realize soon. Be your own social proof. I am my own social proof. We post every single day on everything. I built this from the ground up. I started not knowing anything about food and decided to buy a food trailer, no locations to put it. I knew nothing about making videos online and said we can give it a go and learn as we go. And that's exactly what we've done. Number 4, the biggest thing that I think all of you need to take from this is volume negates luck. Your competitors aren't doing 1 or 2 times the amount of work. They're doing 100 times the amount of work. And if you're only posting once a day or reaching out to one client a day, you're not really going to get it far. Like for me at the moment, I'll get into it more, but I post once a day across 4 platforms every single day. That's 28 posts. Want to realize how much exponentially more you can do? This week, I started posting 3 times a day across 4 platforms with 2 LinkedIn posts. That's 98 posts a week. Who do you think is going to do better? The dude posting 98 times a week or the dude posting 27 times a week? For Monday, I want to do 4 posts a week across 4 platforms with 2 LinkedIn posts. That's 128 posts. That's a month and a half of what I was doing last week in 1 week. You can really, really push the boat. Adam talking about trial reels earlier. Another thing we can look into, we can hire a VA to do it. I could be putting out 200 pieces of content a week in the next 2 weeks. You can completely do, like, it's so achievable. To do 4 videos a day, it takes about 30 minutes of your time, less. That includes editing them. You post the exact same video across multiple platforms, you're going to be on to a winner. You're doing that amount of content, there's going to be no choice but for people to take notice of who you are. Also, it takes longer than you think. I thought I'd be a millionaire by now. I am not a millionaire. I drove here in my Ford Transit Connect and I hate that little van. But one day I'll have a way nicer car. So it does take a long time. I'd have a lot more money if I didn't make the mistakes I made along the way. One of the reasons I got into Adam's course is to pay down my ignorance debt from the start. Alex Mosey has a great saying, if you want to make £1 million minus the million from what you have in your bank account, say you have 10 grand, your ignorance debt is €990,000. You need to find the gap in how to make that. Adam had made over €1 million. I was like, I need to learn from that guy. I'm not making any mistakes at the start. I want to get there as fast as possible. And if I have the money, it's definitely worth paying into something like that. And you need to stand out from your competition. Do stuff that's different. How I stand out from my competition is I live in Drogheda, biggest town in the country. It's derelict. There should be so much going on. The politicians aren't doing anything. Businesses aren't doing anything. I said, I'm going to be the man to do stuff. I do play it. Is that the way to describe it? I'm a bit more dramatic online about how much I love the town and everything. But that's coming to my niche. I push that all the time. I've become the guy, if you think of Drogheda and making it better, it's me. I like to think so. Anyway, but people endear to it. They come to my food trailer all the time. They're like, I'm going to go support a fella who loves his town, loves what he's doing. And then local businesses come and they ask me to manage their social media accounts. It's all because they see me online trying to improve the town. This Wednesday, we're feeding the homeless in Drogheda. It's a great thing to do. Now, I'm no Pope John Paul or anything like that, but it's going to cost me about €200 to feed them. I got to do a great thing for the town. I got to look after the people, but it's also going to benefit my business exponentially. People are going to see I'm doing stuff like that when no one else is doing it, and they're going to want to use me as their go-to, whether it's for catering, whether it's coming down to my food truck, whether it's just saying something good about me. That can go so far for people to buy into you and spend money with you. And that's what we want. We want people to spend their money with us. I'm wanting to slow down talking. And there is no hacks. It's you versus you. You're not really in competition with anyone else. I know I referenced it earlier. You just have to be a better version than who you were yesterday. There's a saying, there's only one person in the world who wants it more than me today, and it's me tomorrow. You are against you. Your barriers, like I went from making my monthly wage, we'll say $3,000, then I set up my own business to starting doing 1,000 to 3,000, 5,000 to 10,000. Then you hit the 10,000, doing crap, we're not getting anywhere. And then you just need a bit of hindsight to look back in time and say, we have come a long way. It's that delayed gratification, but don't take for granted how far you can come in a short period of time.